care is the four-letter word that we're talking about in 2021.
And with us, we have Tasha Blackman. She is the CEO of Cherry Health. Cherry Health is Michigan's largest federally qualified health center. And I personally had the pleasure of working with Tasha and her HR team to getting to know them. And I know that they're committed to caring for their community. So I'm super glad that she is here today. Welcome, Tasha.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Here's Christy.
Yeah, Christy Buck just popped up. Like Lynn had said, this is our third in a series. We started on February 23rd with self-care, learning about how to take care of ourselves and helping the people around us take care of themselves. Last Tuesday, we had a great session on team care, learning inside of our own teams, our families, our businesses, our work groups of how to have empathy and awareness towards mental health and mental care. And today, for the next 90 minutes, we're going to be talking about community care and learn why community care brings synergy and energy to all. We'll talk about calling on others, advocating to help, responding to your passion, and engaging in all areas in neighborhoods and more. I have not introduced Christy. Christy, for the past 23 years, Christy has been the executive director at Mental Health Foundation of West Michigan. She brings a wealth of insight and connections to our mental health. Thank you for being here, Christy. I was going to say that she and I had never met each other in person, but I was thinking about this morning, and I believe that she and I were both on 8 West at one time together, and we had a conversation. So,
Christy!
Oh, my goodness. Wait, but you work for consumers, right?
Yes, I do.
Oh, I thought maybe you were like a loan officer because I have 4 loans through them. Give me a break.
Well, good. Our business services partners will be very happy to have your business.
Awesome.
Yeah, I work for the credit union, but I just talk and stuff like this. I can't do real work like doing loans. I leave that to the real pros. Lynn, I'm going to introduce you. Lynn is our Chief Marketing Officer, and she is, of course, my colleague here at Consumers Credit Union. I've worked with Lynn for, a decade. I didn't even look it up, but it seems like we've worked together for a long time. And just to do a little bio, I Googled Lynn. I Googled, how is Lynn Jarman Johnson connected to the community? And I got one result. Only gave me one search result. It said 7 ways from Sunday. I've never gone anywhere in the community where Lynn did not know at least 2 people. I've never gone anywhere where she just ran into someone that she knew. It's always 2 or more. So thank you, Lynn, for joining us today. It'll make us help who we know in our neighborhood. And that's exactly where we're going to get started is who are the people in the neighborhood? When we think about our community, who are we thinking of? And Christy, I guess I'll start with you and let you take that one away.
Well, who are our neighbors? Anybody and everybody. And so our neighborhoods just don't physically mean who are my neighbors where I live. This is neighborhoods are where I live, where I work, where I go to church, where I commune. Those are my neighbors. And so the reach out to me goes above and beyond. It could be the school community, the school district that I live in. So when we're taking care of our neighbors, this means a huge responsibility of taking it serious that all relationships that we build, they're our neighbors.
Scott, I would like to just hop in and hop on what Christy says. I think all of us evolve, right? As we grow in our community, as we grow in our careers, and also in our own lives. And so, the evolving comes with the example that Christy just gave about, do you remember the time that your neighborhood was your hockey community? Do you remember the time that your neighborhood was those that you volunteered with, perhaps on a board? Do you remember the time that you knocked at your neighbor's door next door just to say hello and meet someone new? Now, I think what is happening is that all of those in the last year, those neighborhoods have really kind of come at us in a different way, where we stopped and we thought to ourselves, but where is my neighborhood if I can't meet them? Where is my neighborhood if I'm not with them physically, face to face? And I think, for our health, Tasha, that's where I go, is the people in your neighborhood are going to change as your life evolves. what is it that you have passion for that you can bring to the table in those life-changing moments?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think about the people in my neighborhood, you know, in terms of what Cherry Health stands for. We provide health care to 80,000 individuals across Kent County. We actually serve just about 80% of the low-income population in Grand Rapids alone. We've got 23 sites located throughout the state. So when I think about who our neighbors are, they're rural neighbors, they're urban neighbors, they're, you know, they are homeless neighbors, they're individuals struggling with substance use disorder, there are individuals who are unemployed, individuals who've been employed for many years. We have folks from different cultures. So when I think about who my neighbors are, I think about a community full of individuals who have faced barriers to care, who really need our support to be able to remove those barriers to care. But I also think of my neighbors as those individuals who are passionate about supporting the plight of the underserved. So those donors, those board members, those community partners that work together with us to wrap our arms around these folks so that we do provide support to them regarding where they work, learn, live, and play. Because I agree with Christy, you've got to look at folks from a holistic standpoint to really assess their needs and then be able to provide interventions in the correct way. So for example, if I have a patient who's concerned about feeding their family, they're probably not going to follow through on the treatment plan that they're given by their provider. So I want to connect them with a community partner who can remove that barrier to food for them so then they can focus on healthcare. So my neighbors are far and wide.
That's excellent. I think about neighbors and our community, and I thought personally, I'm like, man, what has happened to myself and my community with my neighbors, and what have I missed out on? Maybe what happened in the last year that really has brought me down? And I thought about things like I had a high school daughter, she just graduated. She missed graduation. We didn't do an after prom for them. We didn't go on college visits. We didn't get to go to Western football games on Saturday. You know, there's a lot of things in the chamber. I didn't get to go to any chamber events. I didn't get to go to any association events. And man, probably, I think in your guys' neck of the woods, one of the things that really probably hurt the most is we at the credit union and myself, I donate my time to volunteer organizations. And I just wrote down a quick list of who I did not volunteer my time for that I have in the past. Habitat for Humanity, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Walk MS, the Purple Community 5K, Meals on Wheels, Walk to End Alzheimer's, all community partners that I've been involved in the past, but because of the last year, I've really had to skip out on that. So that made me think, since I haven't done anything in the volunteer thing, how are our local nonprofits doing? Christy, you run a nonprofit. Tell us how it is out there.
Well, it's like a lot of other folks just in life in general, you know, having to change everything about our jobs and how we are functioning. For a nonprofit organization, many times you get energy from your coworkers, you get energy from the folks that you are representing. So for us specifically, it's people that want to be passionate about mental health education, suicide prevention. Many of the folks that are our good friends are people that have lost loved ones to suicide. The inability to connect with them on a personal level has been extremely challenging. And as the director of the Mental Health Foundation, a nonprofit, it's really difficult in the sense of I get my energy to keep myself going from my coworkers and from these folks. So along with those struggles of just those personal struggles, there's also the financial difficulties. So last year, we made a commitment to keep our employees employed. And yes, at times it was difficult. We lost two of our largest fundraisers last year due to the pandemic. People were silent when it came to sponsorships. It was real difficult, like what's going on? Exactly like just now that Scott, expressed that all of a sudden I didn't get to help my favorite nonprofit. Well, we're going to hope that coming out of the pandemic right now, 1 year exactly later, that will be tomorrow, the first person diagnosed, and the 13th is the shutdown. I won't remember those days because our lives all changed. So luckily, as a nonprofit organization, unlike Tasha, she'll explain this in a moment, we did receive PPP, and that is because much of our money comes from, a third of it comes from donations, and 1/3 comes from events, and 1/3 comes from service fees that our customers pay for our programming. So it was real hard, but we're getting back. We learned within, I'm going to say, 2 months, right? Habits are formed, and finally we agreed to get dressed in the morning. We met more than ever, so that definitely helped my team to be able to meet consistently. And we still meet 2 to 3 times a week. Zoom is a good friend because sometimes we go on there just to have a cup of coffee with a coworker. We meet in a Zoom. We're in the office once a week right now. But what's going on the outside of the building are crisis situations. I'm a block down the street from Cherry Health, so they're awfully busy right now still. They're essential workers, hard workers. So I'll pitch that over to Tasha.
Oh, yeah. So unlike Christy, Cherry Health did not qualify for the PPP loans because we actually employ over 500 individuals. So unfortunately, we weren't in a position where we laid staff off. So the way we approached our layoffs was we gave individuals an opportunity to self-select. So there were a group of individuals that because their children were going to be homeschooled, they chose to self-select out and be laid off. Then we had to also, force mandatory layoffs for individuals. Myself and my chief's group, we actually took significant pay cuts during that time. I actually just went back to full pay in December. And then our leadership team, which was comprised of directors and managers, followed suit. So we had sacrificed a minimum of 25% of our salary to try to keep individuals employed. We also consolidated our workday to 30 hours because then that allowed me to keep more individuals employed if everybody was working 30 hours. And then over time, obviously we were able to bring folks back, but we were very intentional about what needed to happen for the different programs to bring staff back. And it had to do with making sure we had PPE, making sure individuals were able to social distance, making sure that there was a demand for services. And because we were able to cut our expenses significantly at the beginning of the pandemic, thank goodness we've come out of the pandemic doing well financially. We're stable as an organization. We are in a situation, unfortunately, where we're having to consolidate some of our programming permanently. So, for example, our Eaton Community Health Center, we have to close that particular site. And while we enjoyed serving that community, the pandemic has forced us to make really difficult decisions. And that's just one example. But in terms of fundraising, the community showed up like never before. The community came through with PPE donations. They came through with lunch sponsorships. They came through with mask donations. They came through with any support that you could imagine, they came through with. I remember a call that I made to Kent Riddle at Mary Free Bed. I said to him, Kent, we have no idea when our masks are going to be in. And he said, how many do you need? And I said, like 20,000. Later that day, he had 20,000 masks ready to deliver to Cherry Health. So what I've been able to see during the pandemic is the entire community come together in ways that I've never experienced before, but that I always knew was possible. anybody that knows me knows how much I love this community. Are we perfect? No. But do we have the will to serve those around us? Yes, we do. And that's what, again, inspires me to want to stay in Grand Rapids. I've been, recruited out of the area, or attempted to be recruited out of the area many, many times, but I love Grand Rapids. And to me, I've been able to see the best of our community during the pandemic.
Hey, Scott, one thing
Yeah.
Tasha just said that I think is so spot on is asking for help. And then let's turn that around. If you have been a person who has been volunteering for organizations that are dear to you, that you're very passionate about, have you now all of a sudden gotten to the point where you're ready to say, how can I help you? And I think that can be the greatest thing that we do, is to reach back out to those organizations that we serve, whether that be with our time, our treasures, our talents, and ask, what do you need? And Tasha, the fact that you asked for help from Kent Riddle is just a showcase of what community really means. And that's what this webinar is all about.
Yeah, and I think that that's the importance of really building those relationships before an emergency such as a pandemic happens, because then I can call on Kent Riddle. I can call on Tina Freeze Decker, and she answers my phone call every single time I call her. I can call on Stacy Beeler from Meyer, and she's responding, and she's doing what I need her to do. So again, I do feel like there are a community of leaders in Grand Rapids who want to see other community organizations thrive, and I'm just, again, excited to be a part of it.
Excellent. Yeah, being in our community is super important, and our days are getting better. I watched the news this morning, and it seems to be a little more uplifting and a little more positive, and don't take off your mask and go running outside just yet, but maybe we can see some light at the end of the tunnel. As we work our way through that and get through 2021 until we get back to there, there must be COVID-safe ways for us to be involved in our community. Christy, give us some of those ways that I can be involved and we can stay involved in 2021.
Well, many ways. I mean, obviously, they go to participating for our organization in particular. We're going to keep doing our education program so we can save lives. April brings about a very trying month for the mental health. In mental health, it holds the highest suicide rate out of any other month of the year. So we need to be extremely diligent in doing our mental health education, suicide prevention programs. These are available on Zooms and on the web. I would encourage folks to look outside and go Google, go to the websites of all these organizations and find out what they're doing. Find out how I can help. What are they in need of? Follow them on social media. However we need to do this, there's ways to find these organizations and what they need. So hopefully people have been doing a pretty good job at putting out there what their needs are and what kind of help. Everybody's doing the best they can right now, but I know every day you can make a difference in someone's life. So, I want to quickly just say what the Be Nice Action Plan is. And this is something that people can do every day in their life. It stands for to notice, to invite, to challenge, and to empower. And so if I looked at this in the way of being neighborly, helping others, getting out there, COVID safe, I'm going to notice the good, the right, so that I can make a difference and I can notice the difference. I'm going to invite myself to reach out. I'm going to invite myself to just knock on the door of somebody, of your favorite nonprofit, of your neighborhood. Challenge myself to do this, because a lot of times, because of the way that our mindsets are right now, maybe I feel unsafe in doing these type of things, but I need to still do it. Can I pick up the phone? Can I text? Can I go to a website? Can I email someone? And then ultimately, the next step is empower. And it's bringing empowerment to individuals, to others to get involved. It's bringing empowerment to make an organization feel great, make a neighbor feel great. I love it. So I encourage people to understand what the action plan is, because it's not just going out and just be nice. No, I love it. It's an action plan.
Excellent. Well, I have some exciting news. Our technical troubles seem to be getting better and better. Welcome, Dante. Good to see you. You are on mute if you say welcome back to me. Let me do a quick introduction to the group really quick here. Dante is the Vice President of Business and Talent Development at the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce. Dante describes himself as a fierce advocate for economic and talent development. And man, I think we've seen some fierce advocacy today. So thank you, Dante, for joining us. And
thank you, Scott.
Hold on, I'm going to call on you in just a minute, and it'll be cold. So good luck to you.
Thank you.
Lynn or Tasha, do you have anything to add to the COVID safe ways to stay involved in our community?
I like to say that, we all have now the opportunity. I mean, I think that the most recent statistic came out that now 50-year-olds and up, I think it's as of March 22nd, are ways that we can, get that vaccine and keep on rocking. But I think, again, I'm going to go back to the question of asking, how is it that your organization needs help? And asking those that you are passionate with. And that doesn't only have to be in the nonprofit world. I'll kind of open that up to Dante. We have businesses that are struggling. We have businesses that have not been able to open 100%. So what are ways that we can continue to stay involved in those organizations and businesses? One of the great showcases that we did with Cherry Health actually was with a business partner of ours, Nothing But Cakes. And I think it was 85% of their business before COVID was events. And so the second that ended, how is it that you stay in front of those that have been very diligent in utilizing your wonderfully tasty foods, but continue to do so? And Dante, I know that the Chamber's been amazing at that.
Mm-hmm. So thank you, Lynn. The reality is that, for some industries, they're being hit very hard. And for others, they're busier as they can be. Right now, our economy is poised for a 5% growth in the last half of the year of 2021. Consumption is going to come back up as the state continues to open up. So what does that mean? That means that you got to hang in there. You got to hang in there a little longer and be intentional in making sure that you're paying attention to 3 areas. And I want to quickly cover those 3 areas. Number 1 is internally, your team health. You have to make sure that you're paying attention to your team health. If you have employees that are on furlough, if you have employees that are working remotely, how are you connecting with them? So you're still understanding what they're living, what they're going through, and how they still feel part of your organization. So that team health is really important right now that everyone's working remotely. The second piece is your customer base. If you are closed or you're operating at a certain capacity, still reaching out to as many as you can and let them know what you have going on. Giving them updates, using social media, using your CRM, your client management system to connect with them and just give them updates every, once a month, once a few weeks. If there are activities that you want to celebrate right now, let's be intentional in celebrating the small wins. And as small as they are, if you landed a new account, if you have an employee, whatever it may be, let's share it and celebrate. And then the third thing is stay connected with your industry, right? With your peers, peer to peer. You're not in this alone. Everyone's in your industry are going through the same thing. Be intentional in connecting. And those are ways that you can utilize your trade associations, your chambers of commerce, talk to your banker and say, hey, who else are you working with that I can connect you that's in my industry, and have that opportunity to relieve some of that stress and stuff. But sometimes, it's lonely at the top. These business owners can't share certain concerns they have with staff or everyone else. So the peer-to-peer, staying connecting with your industry is key. So again, internally, team health, check on folks, connect with your customers as much as you can. and now more than ever, be intentional in connecting with your peers.
Yeah, I love it, Dante. I love how you have some hope and brightness for our future for the second half of the year. That is awesome. I guess, Christy, I'll ask you, as we get to the second half of the year and the light starts to shine on us and we can maybe act normal, in the meantime, how can we have honest and productive conversations today and not just complain about what's wrong, but really be productive and start doing what's right now?
Well, I think, obviously there is a lot of feelings that we're not going to get through this. It's hard to see the light, right? And so it's making sure that I myself am taking care of my mental health. And that would mean doing the things that I love, helping myself to feel great, because if I feel great, right, then I can help other people that might not be feeling great at this time. So, it's really super important. It's hard to see the glass as half full for people, especially that struggle with a mental health disorder, specifically anxiety or depression. So for me personally, it's going to be paying attention to people's behaviors changing, people's conversations changing, starting a conversation if I'm worried about someone that they may be struggling, making sure that someone knows that I'm there to help them if they need help and resources to find ways to feel better. Simplistically, things to help people feel better are asking someone to go for a walk with me, maybe a virtual walk with me, whatever may help them. Making sure that I'm eating right. And if I really want to reach out and help someone, maybe I'm going to share some easy recipes. I'm going to go pick up your groceries so you can make this easy meal that I just prepared. And these extend very far. I'm telling you that 1 in 5 will struggle with a mental health disorder in a given year, and rates are super up. I just got done doing a 4-hour workshop. It's called Mental Health First Aid with some business folks. And it pumped me up to come to this today to remind people that we need to be paying attention to people's mental health at its utmost. I think everything that Dante said, all 3 of those things have an effect on people's mental health, reminding them that team matters, updating employees all the time. There's struggles that happen when you don't know what's going on. And then those small wins, celebrating those little things that could only mean that things are going to come, they're going to be brighter. That's all I can say about that. Those are open, honest, and productive conversations. And, for folks that struggle with anxiety, it's day-to-day wins. It's like that win for the day. And sometimes it starts that small because people that struggle, they're looking too far and they're really perseverating on what's really out there as opposed to this moment, these small wins.
Excellent. And as I think about that and helping others that need help, Tasha, tell us about some of our resources in the communities that can help us understand other people and really help them in a real way.
So one of the resources that I just wanted to share is the connect.HWMUW, so Heart of West Michigan United Way. So connect.hwmuw.org. They actually have a landing page where if you wanted to donate any of the items that are listed on a donation needs list for various organizations throughout the community, you can go to their page and see what items folks are needing. You can also, that particular website also provides volunteer opportunities that people can do remotely. So I wanted to put that out there. So there are also volunteer opportunities that if you want to, to feel more comfortable in your own home, providing support to organizations that need you, visit connect.hwmuw.org, connect.hwmuw.org. But I was going to say one of the other things that as communities coming together that we can do to make sure that we understand one another, is we can be authentically ourselves. I think it's important for those of us that have made it through the pandemic to come out with a new sense of self, to come out with greater awareness of who we are and of the world around us. And what that can mean is really noticing those things that are different. Maybe you could think of interacting with someone that you wouldn't have interacted with before, maybe a different culture. Maybe it's experiencing something that you've never experienced before. Maybe you're going to go to a museum that you haven't ever been to, and you've been born and raised in Grand Rapids. You haven't been to Grant. So look at those opportunities to experience cultures in a different way. It doesn't have to be intimidating. It doesn't have to be scary. It can be one of the most empowering and insightful experiences of your life to just become more open. Open your heart to those around you in ways that you never have. So, with all of the social injustices that have happened over the last year, I think it's important that all of us, just do better with not looking through people, see them for who they are, and get better at just embracing people for who they are. I see the pandemic as the greatest opportunity to hit the reset button on who we are. And I'm hoping that those of you that are listening will join me in that effort, because I think we have, Christy mentioned the mental health concerns. I think we have only scratched the surface of what the mental health implications are going to be as a result of the pandemic, as a result of the social injustices that have happened this last year. So care for each other, love on each other, and just recognize that you're not alone. So that's me. You guys know I get passionate about every question. Sorry.
I want to
Love it.
I want to add a little bit to that, and that is that I love it when you said this could be the greatest opportunity individually that we all face, because for me and for a lot of folks, it helps you put into perspective what really matters. Where was I putting value? What was I putting value in? And was that the proper place or time or thing to put value in? And I think it has forced all of us to evaluate even where we spend our time, our passion, our treasure, all those pieces, to say what really matters personally, and then society-wise. You're right. This pandemic has uncovered so many injustices and inequities that, wow, we need to have different conversations. You know what? And some of those conversations are not going to be easy, but we have no option. We need to address things and have these conversations and be okay with having difficult conversations, because now we see it. It's time to address it. So thank you for sharing that, Tasha.
Yeah, I'll add, it's called growing pains for a reason, right? When you grow, it hurts. And sometimes it's just a necessary process that we all go through.
Tasha, when
Yeah,
you say that, Scott, I just was curious. I love the conversation about once you have those growing pains, and Christy, you can jump in here. It is the aftermath of learning that is so critical for all of us right now. It's the listening skills that we need to learn. Those are all skills that, hit the reset button. Where can we find those outreaches and resources if as a company, as an individual, as a volunteer, you're running into those difficult discussions? Where can we get the training that I think is also needed when we say, let's hit that reset?
Well, I'm going to put a plug in for the Mental Health Foundation. And we do a lot of trainings on having difficult conversations. And a lot of these people do not know. They'll notice these changes, these difficulties going on in people's lives, in our community, but they stop short of inviting themselves to go one step further. And so I can notice within people, maybe the changes, the good, the right about what's typical, and then I can notice the changes. It's so broad, the Be Nice Action Plan, because it could be that I walk by, I know a great restaurant down the street. I've noticed that they've been shut down the whole time. I'm noticing that they're open, the doors are open. I go to my next step, I'm going to invite myself. I'm going to walk in that door and I'm going to put an order in for food or whatever. And you know what? It may be even opening up a conversation with the owner of that business. And how I do that, I use the word notice. Hey, I noticed you've been closed down for 6 months. How you doing now? I'm so glad you're open again. It could be, though, my conversations might be with, an employee. I've noticed that you're not the same that you were 6 months ago. What's going on? And 6 months would be too long. I mean, within 3 weeks of a change in someone's behavior, I need to be having that conversation of opening up a discussion, but I got to go back. You know what? I've noticed that typically you're always at the meetings first thing in the morning. You're the person that connects the Zoom right away. What's going on? Well, it opens the door up for the conversation. I listen back. Well, I just got a lot going on. Help me to understand what's going on. Well, I can't put food on the table anymore. What are you talking about? What that leads me to is I've opened up a discussion and I'm finding this situation that could be the one thing that is really causing the stress, the angst, the change in them. And I loved when Tasha said about Heart of West Michigan, United Way, 211 is one of the best resources to help connect people with this one thing that could be the biggest piece of the pie for them right now. And then I challenge that person with these resources. And it may mean me. Hey, I'm going to help you to connect to them. Look, let's do a group phone call over to 211. I want to hear whatever you need to do, be part of the solution to help that person find that help. And then in addition, empowerment, again, leading them to services, to find the ability to find a solution to this ongoing situation that might be happening.
I have a follow-up question. I was thinking of myself, and that I feel like things aren't going terrible for me, but I don't feel as well as I should. So I decided, I just took some notes that I should take action and go volunteer. I think I would feel better helping someone else. Give me a top couple of what should I do this year to go volunteer and really do the best help in the community that I can?
Well, you want me to take this one?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, well, it's hard because a lot of times there's not in-person things that are happening right now, right? So one, I want to definitely ask everybody to be patient as we find ways that we're going to need assistance live and in person, okay? I'm just going to tell you that. Another way that people can really help out is possibly being part of a phone drive to just say, hey, I'm calling on behalf of my favorite nonprofit organization, and I'm hoping you know that they're still doing great work out there. Not sure if you know that Cherry Health is still up and running and have not closed down. I mean, these are huge volunteer opportunities that a lot of times we don't have time as a nonprofit organization to do that. I'll be honest with you. A lot of times people find that volunteering is showing up in person. And again, please be patient. I have a young lady that wants to do an internship. And I said, well, things are really different. Do you work independently? Because that's a lot of what's happening right now. We have 2 people in the office at the same time. We're a very small, tiny organization. So 6 feet apart, we're practically on top of each other anyway. But those are real simple ways that people can help out. And I know I would like assistance for our nonprofit that way.
Excellent. Well, Christy, I'm going to keep it with you, but I'll let everyone else jump in if they want you. How do we reach out to folks in our neighborhood who, like you say, it might be 3 weeks, things have changed, it feels like they're struggling. What do we do to help without getting into someone's business?
Well, one way obviously is through anything to do with social media, emails, texting, picking up the phone and giving somebody a call. And I don't know if people know how easy it is to find a phone number or an address for someone. It's on whitepages.com. I hate to say it, but it is. It's all over there. And so it's making sure, like even on Facebook, go out there and send a message instead. I think I sent 10 messages yesterday of people that I was thinking about because tomorrow's my birthday. It's kind of weird. But I remember on my birthday last year was, yeah, it's just crazy, right? But I'm going back and you know what? I haven't connected with these people today. And I am going to make an effort right now to see how they are doing. In my neighborhood, you know what? I'm going to go outside this week. I'm going to make it a point to go out and start waving to my neighbors that I was waving to a year ago. I'm going to remind people that this is a high time where people who struggle with depression and anxiety struggle the most, March and April. And why this is because seasonal affective disorder is very different than anxiety and depression, okay? SAD, you get light helps, exercise helps, getting outside, being social, being around people. It's all good for seasonal affective disorder. But people who struggle with anxiety and depression, they'll continue. They don't find that energy to go out. I've isolated myself all winter, and everybody else has, but I can't come out of my house. I'm going to look for my neighbors that aren't able to do that right now. And I'm going to point this out like, hey, are you okay? I'm seeing that I haven't seen you outside. This includes my neighborhood of my community, my church friends, my Greek friends, my friends in general. It's a time to check on people's mental health. It's very serious.
So I'd just like to add, one of the things that I've participated on and that I've actually planned is a Zoom happy hour. So you can bring your own cocktail to Zoom happy hour. And I mean, we've done that with some of our neighbors. We've done that with some of our community, like church community and friends, and it's been great. I think the other thing that Christy mentioned, and I'll just kind of springboard off of that is, you know, I know sending thinking about you card through the mail is such an antiquated, old idea, but what's old is new again, you guys. Send the card through the mail. Take that additional 2 seconds to drop a card off in the mailbox. You know, I think, so one of our neighbors, they actually took sticky notes and just put a different sticky note on everyone's mailbox to just say, it was actually like a joke, and it was so cute. You know, so just do things like that. That lets people around you know that you're thinking about them and that they're not alone. I think the isolation has been so difficult for folks. I've been fortunate enough to still come into work just about every day and still have a community around me, but some people are not so fortunate. So, I mean, I would even say as you're driving down the street, if you see folks walking, just wave. You know, just acknowledging their presence says, I see you, and I'm so happy to see you. So,
Tasha, I wanna add something here that has worked for me, and that is anytime I'm checking up on someone or connecting with somebody, I don't ask them how they're doing all the time. Sometimes I just say, you know, I haven't been myself lately, and I just wanted to reach out and connect with you because I'm struggling a little here and feeling empathetic, and when I do that, I feel that individuals open up. Easier to say, listen, I'm with you, or I haven't been feeling myself either, and I'm struggling, and so it's that vulnerability that I think sometimes we forget that is also a strategy for us to connect with individuals.
Excellent point. I just wanted to say before we go, we've been talking about staying involved in the communities, and in the chat, we have added a link that Tasha had. So if you want to go follow that link, you can just click on it or copy it from the chat. I think I skipped ahead a little bit for now. There we go. We'll get back in. Next question, I guess, Dante, maybe we'll start for you. We are all competing for resources now, talent, higher wages, aging workforce, opting out of employment. How are we going to handle that in 2021?
Well, the good news is that we've always been innovative, right? We've always figured it out, and that's what, especially here in the Midwest and West Michigan, I would say that we're very innovative in how to figure things out. But the reality is that sometimes we have to read past the headline to understand where we really stand. I'll give you an example. So yes, we are still in a pandemic. However, right now, disposable income per capita in Kent County is a little bit higher than what it was pre-COVID, right? And that's what happens when, $4.5 trillion are put into the economy. So we need to recognize that although we feel that maybe resources are scarcer, that might not be the case. And what we are finding is that sometimes the resources are not aligned. So access to them becomes the real challenge, access to the resources. And I'll share with you, right now, as the banking community knows, as you know, PPP is available. And right, that's going to get you through the next few months, and that's going to cover your employees and so forth. However, access to it might not be the same for everyone. So there are things being put in place to right size or make that better. What I would say is, yes, we compete for resources, but the resources, we're part of the system, and if we're not able to connect into this system as needed, let's raise our hand. And there's a lot of people, like the people on this call and within our community, that are ready to take you by the hand and walk you over to the institution, the organization, the other business that can assist and support you. I'm a big believer in plugging into your peers, because you'd be surprised how many times, how many calls I am on a week with a group of restaurant owners who are all in the same boat, struggling, and they're not looking at what can I get versus my competitor. They're looking at collectively, how do we help ourselves out, right? We're learning that there's power in numbers, and if all of us have the same pain point, maybe together we can draw on more resources or become more visible, or let our voices be heard more significantly. I would also encourage everyone, especially if you're in some type of business or you're an employee, you're an employer, is to be intentional and every week saying, what am I learning this week that's going to help my business? And if I'm talking to other people I talk to and I'm not learning something new, it's time to talk to someone else. And let me start calling on my banker. Let me start calling on that person that does my taxes. Hey, you work with other businesses. How are they getting help? What resources are they tapping into? And provide a name so I can follow up. Right now, it's not the time to hunker down in our little shops and offices and homes. Right now is the time to get out there and connect and ask questions. Who, how, when can I plug in? And continue to ask them. There's more and more organizations and people that are ready to support you.
Excellent. COVID has obviously highlighted economic disparities in people and in businesses, and depending on where you live and how you work. Now what do we do? We already had economic disparity. We've just highlighted it's getting worse. What do we do now to help make it a little bit better? Dante, I guess we'll start with you.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, because of the heightened awareness of these disparities that we all see now, I think everyone has a role to play here. And when I say everyone, I truly mean everyone. Every one of us impacts the systems that create these disparities. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about. Something created this inequality, or the economic conditions or the community conditions where certain individuals took step backwards instead of taking step forwards with the rest of us. And we got to call it out. I think, what do we do? Many of us who have been part of these institutions and organizations that um, are either responsible or bystanders for these inequalities, is we have to own it. We have to look from within and say, okay, how do I address this? How do I rectify this? How do I create intentionality to making sure we close this gap? And what do? So it becomes part of your work plan. It becomes part of your values. It becomes part of the to-dos for 2021, for 2022, and however long it takes until we close the gap. And so I'll share what it's meant for us at the Grand Rapids Chamber, is that we are reinventing how we're doing business. And our work plan now incorporates some very intentional strategies for outreach, meaning that I'm not going to wait downtown and wait for somebody to come and get these great programs or have access. I'm going to go out there and be intentional in reaching these individuals that are not showing up right now, right? That need us. So the outreach is totally intentional in these areas of focus. We need to own our gaps and be intentional and say, okay, do we have the staff? Do we have the strategies? Do we have bilingual individuals? Do we have multicultural leadership teams? Do all those pieces and start having these conversations to address these inequities. And then the last thing I would say, that as an organization that we're doing, is that we need to give ownership to our product, our organization, our chamber, to all of the communities that we serve. And what does that mean? Is we don't want people to feel welcome at the chamber. We want them to feel like they own the chamber, that this is their chamber of commerce. And it doesn't matter what socioeconomic, underrepresented class, minority, what matters is that when they come or they have any touch points with us, they feel that they own this organization that's a driver of economic wealth for businesses and individuals and communities, right? That they feel like this is for them and are able to come in and take advantage. Now, as a community, what do? Is let's roll up our sleeves, let's have these conversations, let's hold ourselves accountable. Let's hold each other accountable to make sure that it doesn't stay in conversations only. And once, and again, I'll repeat myself, the last half of 2021, we're going to have a 5% growth in the economy. 2022, it's going to continue to grow. So things will get better. And my concern, my worry is that we'll forget about these conversations and we're back at where we were pre-pandemic. And that's no longer an option for us. We need to have the intentionality and urgency to address these inequities today and have it truly be part of our work.
Excellent.
Dante.
Yeah, when I think about
Oh, that's okay, Scott. I was just going to say I had the privilege of being on a webinar yesterday that focused on International Women's Day and Choose to Challenge. And that's the hashtag Choose to Challenge. And last fall, 2020, in the fall, there were nearly 1 million women that left the workforce. 1 million in the world. That was 4 times more than men. And the reason that is brought up is because, the pandemic has highlighted how we live, right? If you have children and all of a sudden childcare closed, if you have schools and there's online school and you're not available to help, I read an article yesterday about a woman whose 14-year-old son was helping their 2-year-old while she was trying to work. Those kind of issues are happening every single day. And so any of us who have the thought process of choose to challenge, ask the questions in your organization. How are we helping get our employees back in the workforce if they had to leave due to everything that's been happening? And then, as Dante just said, don't forget about it, because that's the easiest thing that will happen. And I think Tasha brought up the other thing. Commit now to ourselves, saying we can be the change. It's really so incredible and empowering.
Excellent point. I'll add my own with a shameless plug. I manage our Consumers at Work program. We reach out to the community to provide financial wellness and education, and I can't think of a more important time. For some people that are doing especially well right now, we know lots of people in our community kept their job and are also going to get a $1,400 check or multiples of $1,400. What an important time to do the right thing with their own personal finances and set up emergency savings, get their bills paid on time, reset their own personal financial plan to help them with their own economics. Because man, we know it's tough out there, and it's a very strange world with either making much less than you did or the same, or maybe even some more right now. It'd be a great time to take action and set the employees up in the community for a great 2021. My favorite question. This is our last official question and my favorite. We are going to do a speed round. Everyone gets a chance to answer. How do we get involved in your corporation's philanthropy? Tasha, I will let you get us started on the last question.
Absolutely. So on May 6th, Cherry Health is holding its annual prescription strength event. So it's going to be a virtual event, so you're all welcome to attend. So visit www.cherryhealth.com to see what that event has in store. We're going to be focused on maternal infant health care. So we're really excited about that. But if you want to donate today, please text Cherry, CHERRY, to 50155. That is Cherry, CHERRY, to 50155. And I hope to see you all at our May 6th event.
Excellent. Thank you, Tasha. Christy, tell us about, from your perspective, how we can get involved in corporations philanthropy.
Sure. So we have 3 different ways right now, and that would be how we bring our monies in. 1/3 comes in from our fundraisers. So on May 15th, we have our annual Stomp Out Stigma Walk for Mental Health. And no matter how we're going to do it, right now we're meeting live downtown on the campus of Grand Valley State University. And the walk is around the river downtown. It's in its 18th year, very consistent with the programs that we do. And there's sponsorships available. You can walk. If you believe in mental health, which we all should, come on out that day. In addition, 1/3 of our funds come from our programs. And so one way a corporation can get involved is by bringing Be Nice, becoming a Be Nice business. Our newest and one of our greatest partners that is coming on board is the city of Grand Rapids. We did a training to some of their leadership about Be Nice, and we did mental health first aid, and they are coming on as an official business to implement the action plan in their business and in their systems. Also, 1/3 of our money comes from donations. And so right now you can click on the donate button at benice.org and make a donation today. Obviously, everything counts. And I thank you for all for listening today and being part of this to see how you can become part of being a super good neighbor.
Thank you, Christy. Dante, tell us from the Grand Rapids Chamber perspective, what can we do to help with philanthropy?
Absolutely. So our philanthropy is aligned with our mission and goals, which is supporting our business community in these difficult times. So when the pandemic began, the Chamber activated our Grand Rapids Chamber Foundation, and you can go to grchamberfoundation.org and connect with multiple ways to support the business community. Again, it's grchamberfoundation.org, where we created a rapid response fund to support the businesses that were not accessing PPP or any of the other economic opportunities that were coming through the CARES Act and all the other programming. We also have done specific industry initiatives to support, for example, the restaurant industry, and taking and purchasing meals from these restaurants to give to our first responders, so these restaurants can see some sales. And then we have your tradition. Okay, here's a T-shirt that is about our community and supporting our community, and funds or proceeds from selling these T-shirts will go to support the small business community. So many ways. Probably the best way that I would say are most impactful is connecting with us and just saying, hey, I have a skill set of, I'm an accountant by trade. I'd be happy to mentor a business that's having cash flow issues right now, or so forth, and we'd be happy to make the connection. So talent is one piece of this puzzle that we're gonna always welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Dante. Lynn, you're highly involved in at least the credit union's philanthropy and what we do. Tell us what you do and what we can do better this year.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think one of the things that has just been so eye-opening this year is the passion to want to continue to get involved from every single person at Consumers Credit Union, which has been a joy. When everything shut down, we are a very feet on the ground type of an organization. We like to volunteer in person. Adrienne Marks, who you can't see, but she is our event sponsor coordinator, really helps us get involved with different organizations throughout the year. And I think what ended up happening for us, which I think is a really great learning lesson for anyone, is that it's time to really listen to what are the passions of every single person in your employment and in your team. And I say that because one of the cool things we just wrapped up was we had Professional Development Day, which is a yearly all-person event. And normally it's everybody's in person in a wonderful location. And we always have lots of learning and networking, which is awesome. But then we also focus on community giving. And 99% of the time, it's all done together. You know, we're in one big room. It's one big happy family. And this year, every single office, we have 23 offices. And then on top of that, the different departments that help our member service run, every single one picked what they wanted to do with their own passion. And so they came together as a team. They chose different events that they could participate in. And it was an incredible day of giving. And some people delivered actual food to organizations. Some people like literally cleaned out their cupboards, and they all came together and donated to food banks. We had individuals who said, I want to learn how I can start doing senior meals on wheels. And I can tell you right now that I've already had texts from our team saying, can I walk in Christy's walk? How can I get involved, Dante? Tasha, do we want to have a group together? That's what it's all about. But the one thing that happens is people don't know how to get involved sometimes. And sometimes your corporation's philanthropy can seem up above what is the day-to-day things that we are doing. So if there's one thing I would suggest is let's do this. Let's open up those doors and those floodgates. Let's make sure everyone feels comfortable on saying, hey, can I do this? I'd like to participate. I'd like to do the following. It's not just about money. It's about time. It's about your passion. And I can tell you that for us, it has been a year that has been so heartwarming in being able to help where we can, but also the joy that Dante just talked about of what we can start to do is really incredible. And there is power in organizational collaboration. There is absolute power in it. And so if you have an idea, share it with the people that are helping coordinate your philanthropy efforts in your organization. Or if you hear of something, say, I want to participate in that. Because I can tell you, the volunteers are needed. Sometimes it's just like, oh, I didn't really realize you wanted to get involved. Yes, absolutely. So let's open the floodgates.
Awesome. And activate your team. I think that's what we do here at Consumers. We don't just say, hey, we're going to donate X to this cause. It's, we're going to donate X, and then it comes down to all the employees. Hey, we have this great cause, and we're gonna do our best. Who has a passion for it? Who wants to go ride bikes or go for a run or volunteer here? So it's awesome to feel that together and help feel more than just we wrote a check, but we actually helped with philanthropy. That is awesome. Well, thank you, team. I thought we got through just a wonderful presentation, despite our 2021 issues that we all have on every type of call that we have. But Tasha, Christy, Dante, and Lynn, thank you so much. Lynn's raising her hand. I'm gonna let her speak here.
I don't mean to interrupt, Scott. You might not be able to see the chat, but Tasha, there was a question on the chat that was very specific. You mentioned 30-hour work week. Tell us about how that impacted your organization and why you did it, and if you recommend it.
Yeah, so the reason why we actually did it is because we're required to have services offered early morning as well as late into the evening. So late into the evening, meaning 8 and 9 p.m. So because our demand softened significantly during the pandemic, we actually just consolidated our hours to match our demand. And I mean, it was great. So it allowed us to cut our expenses significantly during that time. But it also allowed us to keep more people employed. So instead of keeping everyone at 40 hours and then laying off more individuals, if you think about it, for every 4 individuals, we were able to save, for every 3 individuals, we were able to save another person's employment. Because they were working 30 hours instead of 40. So I would recommend it when you're struggling, because the truth is, if you don't have the revenue coming in, your only recourse, if you don't have additional funds coming in, like the funds Christy received, the PPP loans, is you've got to cut your expenses. So it did work for Cherry Health. We were able to consolidate our services into specific locations, which meant less costs for security and all of those other overhead expenses that we've got to cover. And it worked well for our organization. And as a result, we came out of the pandemic with cost savings that we didn't even anticipate. So, and the truth is, most of our staff are back. We've got about 97% of our staff that are back from layoff. We do have an additional, 3% that chose to transition either into stay-at-home roles or transition away from Cherry Health. But we were happy with the 97%.
Excellent. Thank you. Speaking of the chat, every website that we talked about today is listed in the chat, so you can go in there and connect on any of those. Lynn, do we have any more questions?
We do. We have one for Christy.
Yay.
Christy, and I think this is absolutely I'm so glad this question was asked. The question is, our kids and our teens, our young adults have gone through so much during the pandemic. Is there something very specific that you suggest that we should do to keep an eye out, make sure our heart's in the right place when asking the right questions?
Most definitely. And we know, again, that we've seen a lot of changes in everything in life, and for kids, there is difficulty, and this is part of their brain development, okay? There's a lot of things that they can't process like adults, to work things out and figure things out and go to the right people. So this is where it's super important to be aware and look for changes in teens' behavior, where they are isolating more, taking risks that they typically don't take, not being able to go to school, grades dropping, hanging out with friends that they wouldn't typically hang out with, spending time in their room more often. And don't be afraid to initiate a conversation with them and tell them what you are noticing in a change in their behavior. Oftentimes, we'll just dismiss it for typical behavior of kids, and if it is not typical of them, I need to make sure that I'm reaching out 2 weeks or longer is my marker of a change in someone's behavior. And it's never too soon to start a conversation. In addition, there's been a lot of losses for students right now. Sports have been canceled, we know this. Musicals have been canceled, plays have been canceled, clubs and organizations that kids are typically involved with, they've been postponed. They meet virtually, whatever. Keep mindful of watching changes in behavior for 2 weeks or longer. And if my son, daughter was involved in something and suddenly now they're not going to be involved in that, that is a warning sign to get involved. Find something that they want to get involved with to replace the thing that they are dropping.
Excellent. Thank you, Christy. We'll do a recap here. Let's all just talk for a minute about maybe what you learned and what you might recommend to the panelists going forward from today. Tasha, we'll have you start.
You know, I always learn so much when I listen to Christy. She knows that I admire her work with the Mental Health Foundation, and Cherry Health will be a part of your walk. So we're really excited to partner with you on your walk. And Dante, he is like incredible. I always learn so much from Dante. I think that the economic prosperity for all is something that truly resonates with me, and we've done so much work within our organization over the last 6 to push us closer to a living wage, even in this environment, which, you know, when you can make $16 an hour at Sam's Club or Costco, it becomes very difficult to compete for staff to really with a job that I would say is higher stress, more pressure. So, you know, I'm taking with me some of the comments that both Dante made about the economic prosperity for all folks and the mental health awareness information that Christy shared.
Excellent. Thank you, Tasha, so much. Dante, what recommendations do you have for us in connecting with our community?
My biggest thing is what makes community is all the individual parts, and you need to plug in. You need to connect. You need to reach out. This is not, you know, in West Michigan, I think sometimes we don't want to ask for help. We don't want to raise our hand. We don't want to. This is not the time. Take the first step with those that you are most comfortable with, and reach out and connect and ask and be intentional and sharing where you are at and who else can I talk to. This is not the time to stay within our four walls, and this can be done virtually as well. Reach out to many individuals on a virtual platform. So my biggest thing is that there's so many resources out there. The need is great, but I think there's so many caring people and leaders and community individuals that if there was, hopefully there'll never be a pandemic again, but if there is, I don't think there's any other place that I'd want to live through it than here in West Michigan.
Thank you, Dante. Appreciate that. Christy, when we think about our community's mental health, what do you suppose our biggest takeaway should be today?
Oh, well, what I'm taking away is total passion for our community from both our speakers, from Dante and Tasha. It fired me up about the chamber today, and I just love what the Grand Rapids Chamber does, and they are so on top of what's happening in our business, the economy, and they're just a wealth of information, knowledge, and connections, all about collaboration. Cherry Health, you know, it's kind of crazy, but 34 years ago, I started in the profession of mental health, and my office was on the lot where the Cherry Health building stands. So I'm a product of all of the we organizations. I actually was a Cherry Health employee. So I just feel we are so fortunate to have a leader in Tasha. with such an amazing organization that just does so much for our community. And, organizations like Cherry Health and Grand Rapids Chamber make so much tick. So they are the talk, and I'm honored to have been on this committee with the panel with them. And obviously, Lynn goes way back with my husband to when he was 5 years old. So I've kind of grown up with Lynn from my marriage days. So you know what? Our paths are always crossing, Lynn, and I just love it. You're a dynamite, and Consumers Credit Union is really fortunate to have you. Scott, thank you so much for being the moderator of this amazing discussion today.
Absolutely my pleasure. Miss Lynn Jarman-Johnson, give us our final recap today.
I can tell you I learned 3 things today, and I almost want to tear up, to be honest with you, because I do believe that all of us are in this together. We have had a wonderful care series this entire month about how to really think about yourself, about your teams, and about our community, which is so important. And I think the 3 things that I learned start with the overall, and Dante, you said it, we have a greatest opportunity right now for us to do good. All of us, every single one of us. And so these 3 things I heard: push the reset button. It's okay to close your eyes and dream of being to the next level of where you want to be, whether it be giving back in the community, reconnecting with your family, holding those close to you, but picking the phone up and reaching out. I just think that is a wonderful gift that you gave us. Number 2, Christy, look for changes. We all can get so busy, and now I think we get even a little reticent. It's not even busy. It's like, I don't know if I'm supposed to reach out right now because maybe we're supposed to be feeling sad. Well, of course we feel sad. But those changes, Christy, you talked about, are life-saving changes. And so I think that is absolutely important to look back, and that's what I'm going to do this week. And then finally, I can't say enough about join a networking group. Become involved in the chamber, become involved in networking, become involved in these webinars where you can ask questions. We had phenomenal questions today. But all of the different groups, Dante, that the Grand Rapids Chamber has is incredible. There's also the Hispanic Chamber. There's all of the organizations that are focused on helping us succeed in business, which guess what happens? When that happens, we also then succeed in volunteering, we succeed in giving back. And so for that, I can't thank you enough, Dante. Scott, it's just been an absolute joy. And every single one of the panelists today have one thing in common, and that is passion to connect. So anybody who is on and would like more information about Cherry Street Health, about Be Nice, Mental Health Foundation, and about the Grand Rapids Chamber and all of the different ways you can get involved, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yes, thank you. Everyone here certainly has the passion and ability to overcome even 15 minutes of technical difficulties as we try to get this thing going. So thank you, everyone, for your patience in helping getting this going. For all of our attendees, all 3 of the seminars are available at consumerscu.org/video. So you can go back and look at the previous ones if you want to. Special thanks to Onsite Wellness for helping us put it together, and of course our Consumers Credit Union. It's 12:52. It's over 60 degrees outside. I can't possibly keep anyone late, so we'll end just a few minutes early. We'll enjoy the nice weather and feel positive about our community and be able to help each other out. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.